joining us now is Lauren Webster, Piper Sandler's head of investment banking. Just state off the bat, Piper Sandler is not involved in this IPO, but you know this industry. You know how an IPO works, and this will be the biggest IPO of all time. When you read that document, as far-fetched and out of this world as it was, what were you thinking?
I was certainly thinking aspirational, visionary. But let's unpack, for starters, the TAM that you spoke about.
Right. Okay, so you have this document, and you have to say something.
Yes.
And what you say is, we see a world where the market ahead of us is $28.5 trillion, but $26.5 trillion is just AI.
Yep. Yeah. So two observations. First, I think every prospectus has a very lofty TAM in it. So this is not out of the ordinary. It truly is par for the course. The second one is every company going public wants to be able to tell investors, we have multiple ways to win and multiple TAMs to be able to touch. So yes, huge numbers. We can kind of quarterback, Monday morning quarterback, what's right, what's wrong in there. But it is saying to investors, we have multiple paths here to really meet that growth outlook that you're investing us to achieve.
Is it believable? The TAM number? Any of it?
I don't know if I've truly believed any TAM put in a prospectus, and I've always been able to poke holes in it. I think probably the one that was the biggest gap for me is really that enterprise application wedge in it. So you saw a very sort of rational stair step. The enterprise application one needs a lot of unpacking, but I think that's part of the story here is that there are really three core pieces, and each of these are going to be foundational to the future of how enterprises deliver services to their customers.
I think what SpaceX is arguing through xAI, which is part of the story, it owns xAI, is that they are going to take on your OpenAIs, Anthropic's, Google's in the market for agentic AI. They talk about how white-collar work will be transformed. But is the TAM, even from a potential investor's perspective, calculable? Whether you believe it or not, there has to be some math involved on how SpaceX would get into that market.
Yeah, look, I think they're already delivering in some of those areas.
Right.
Certainly on, let's just take the xAI piece and what they're doing with the Colossus data centers and now having Anthropic come in as a key customer there. But that is a market that we are going to hear over and over again throughout this year. You mentioned OpenAI IPO coming up potentially. Really large TAM numbers because it really does touch every part of the enterprise ecosystem and then flowing down into consumer daily life.
We maybe should have started here, but why does the preliminary prospectus matter? What is it that needs to happen, in convincing the market to participate in this IPO?
Yeah, so a good question, and a few areas where it's really critical. One is the storytelling, and I think unpacking that story, there's three core parts that we've talked about in terms of what are you investing in. You're investing in a core space business, really the foundation of SpaceX. Launch rocket where they have a tremendous leg up on the competition and have really bent the cost curve associated with the future space economy. Two is really telling the story around autonomy and connectivity for that autonomy at the edge with Starlink, and that we as Starlink are going to be able to power the connectivity required for everything we're going to do with autonomous vehicles, robots, go down the list. And then three is really the AI piece. So that's the storytelling. And then, of course, you also have the numbers behind that, risks associated with it, and informing investors of what they're getting into. But first and foremost, telling that story.
Prior to the offering, Elon Musk has 85.1% voting power based on the structure of the shares. Historically, in big IPOs, how has that been a factor?
Yeah, so you've certainly seen across the tech industry these, dual share classes where founders retain significant, if not nearly total control in terms of what
super voting share class.
Exactly. I think for Musk in particular, he has a very long leash with investors in terms of capital-intensive projects, in part because what he's delivered with Tesla, what he's been able to do in the space economy today. And so while, there is some potential caution, it's not unexpected that he would retain this type of control, and we've certainly seen it in prior tech IPOs.
We just have about a minute left. What do you think is going to happen? How do you think this is going to go? Draw on your experience.
Yeah. So a few things. I'm really looking forward to the Starship launch this evening.
How critical is that?
I think it is important. It is not binary. What it does is we're already seeing tremendous investor enthusiasm around the SpaceX IPO. I think that enthusiasm holds, even if Starship doesn't go up. Musk and SpaceX have primed us to understand there is failure when you're doing big things. But if it goes well this evening, I think that creates even greater enthusiasm and sort of creates the crescendo around this opportunity, which is, of course, what he's hoping for.